How's it going, Oak and Cedar? I am at Law's Whiskey House. Excited to do a distillery tour with these guys. Do you mind being on and saying hey?
Hi.
What's your name?
I'm Robin.
Robin. And what do you do here at the Whiskey House?
I give tours, I bartend, I do the event planning.
How long you been here?
I've been here since December. So we opened this building in December. It is a big upgrade from our old tasting room, which was a very small sort of closet-sized space where we could really only do flights. And now we can do cocktails, and we've got a much nicer space that you will see.
Very nice.
For our I like all the stuff you guys have out on the bar right there. That looks nice. And a big spiral staircase.
That's cool. It looks really nice in here. So this has only been open since December. How long has Law's been around?
You will hear all about that on the tour.
Fantastic. Well, guys, stay posted. I'll catch up with you a little bit.
Feel comfortable? Welcome to our whiskey church at Law's Whiskey House. This is the room in which we worship the Holy Spirits. First joke of the tour. Landed. Let's go. My name's Chris. I'll be your tour guide today. Have y'all been here to Law's before?
Negative.
Sweet.
I've drank many Laws before.
Nice. So you're familiar with the product, just not the environment.
Correct.
Cool. Well, we'll talk all about it today in the tour. And yeah, we're going to start out a little bit up front here, just in the church, talking a little bit about our company's history. Then we're going to talk about some of the definitions and words we like to put on our bottles, things that are good to look out for when you're shopping for whiskey, just general knowledge worth knowing. Then we're going to dive into our distillation process a bit. I'm going to give you a 1,000-foot view, just give you a little bit of an idea of what's going on back in our distillery before we head back there. And then we'll take a walk through the distillery, chat about all of our processes back there, get to look at some barrels, and we'll end it all up in our sensory tasting bar for a flight of some of our flagship whiskeys. With that, I do encourage questions. There's a lot of information about whiskey. I'll try to teach you as much as I can, but if you ask me questions, helps me kind of gear the whole tour towards you all and teach you what you want to know.
Any chance of getting a thief any of those barrels and taste it straight from the oak?
Unfortunately, today we're doing just a general public tour. That would be the private tour experience. So today we will be thieving, but you will get to taste plenty of whiskey. We've got 3 different ones on the flight at the end of our tour, and then we've also got our full service cocktail bar upstairs. That's great for flights of our other whiskeys. And, and some of our wells have some of our historic bottles in them, such as stuff from batch number 7.
So from what?
Batch 7, of which we are on 400 something now.
So it's been a minute.
It's been a minute, yeah. We're up there.
I still have a batch 1
You got a batch 1?
at the house.
Nice.
That's incredible, dude.
That's a relic.
I've been drinking you guys for a while. I was like, this one's gonna go just.
Yeah. Make sure you drink it though.
Oh yeah. I'm waiting for a special occasion.
Yeah, special occasion.
Either a 10-year anniversary or
Yeah.
who knows?
That's great.
Something fun. Something fun.
Perhaps 2 years, perhaps.
Birthday.
Maybe now. Today is a good day for it.
Alright. Cool. Y'all got any questions before we get rolling?
Just crispy high fives around.
Y'all take one.
Ooh, that was crazy.
Alright. Cool. Well, let's dive back into our history a little bit, up until the days we opened. So, our founders and owners, Al and Marianne Laws, started this company roughly in 2009. That's basically when the idea happened. They were born and raised in Canada. They lived in New York City for a bit before they were relocated here. At that point, they kind of decided at this point in their careers, they weren't really scratching that creative itch that they wanted in their careers. They wanted to build something from the ground up. So, Al, being a whiskey connoisseur and collector he was at the time, rumor has it his library was at its peak, somewhere over 600 bottles, all of which were opened except duplicates because whiskey's made to be drank. He's the big whiskey guy. With that, they decided they wanted to open a whiskey distillery. In 2009 was the year they decided to head to the Bourbon Trail to try to get some mentorship, some guidance on how to approach the industry. That trip is what many of us would call vacation. They called it research and development. That's a tax write-off, maybe.
However you put it to the tax man.
Yeah, right. With that, 2009, they hit the bourbon trail. Al managed to, fortunately enough, get a table with a man named Bill Friel for 30 minutes. Just a quick conversation with Bill. Have you all heard the name Bill Friel before? Yeah, familiar? He's the master distiller for Barton's Distillery. The 1792 small batch bourbon was the culmination of his 40 years of master distilling experience, if you recognize that whiskey. It's on many shelves in many stores. Definitely recommend trying it. It is quite good. With that 30-minute conversation between the two of these guys, and by the end of it, 2 hours had passed. They saw eye to eye on this whole idea that when you're mixing craft with passion, time tends to fly. And that was one of the things these guys agreed on. Al had this idea of reimagining great American whiskey, which is what really captivated Bill. In Colorado, where we are at a higher altitude and there's a lot less humidity in the air, whiskey ages kind of fundamentally different in the barrels. This was an idea that we wanted to create a true grain-to-glass Colorado bourbon, 4 grains. That is our flagship product right here. This idea, making a real Colorado whiskey in the state of Colorado, was enough to talk Bill out of retirement and to talk him into agreeing to move here to help us open our distillery. Now Bill brought with him a couple major contributions to our company. He helped us develop our mash bill. It is 60% corn, 20% wheat, 10% rye, and 10% barley. With this mash bill, he used his 40 years of experience to figure out how to balance these grains. When you're doing 4 grains in a bourbon, it could be pretty tricky, especially when you're working with rye and barley, pretty strong flavors. Rye, if you've ever put a piece of rye bread on top of a piece of wheat, which is a weird experiment to do, but you could imagine, you're probably only tasting the rye. So, hence our mash bill. Bill helped us develop that. He also helped us design our distillery. So it's all made so that one person can run the whole thing in a day by themselves. It's a pretty intuitive build. All that experience helped him figure out where the steps are that could be reduced and or eliminated in the whole process. So, and by steps I mean physically, walking steps. We've got a bunch of platforms back there. It's a very automated system. If you're an engineer, you might nerd out a little bit on it.
Oh, I'm gonna nerd out.
Yeah, nice. The spirit. The spirit. Yeah, all right, that one was
No,
reach.
spirit's
That was
here, going
reach.
in.
Yeah. So Bill and Al came back, they got to work. In 2011, we barreled our first whiskey. For the next 3.5 years, Al and Marianne continued working their day jobs, all distilling and barreling whiskeys at night. The reason behind that is because whiskey tells you when it's finished, not the other way around. It's one of the more patient spirits that you've got to, deal with. In that, many distilleries will start with a vodka or a gin or something quick and easy to make some pennies right out the gate. That said, we wanted to be a true grain-to-glass Colorado whiskey. Therefore, we had to wait. And that was 3.5 years of waiting before our whiskey told us it was ready. That's brutal. Yeah, right? But with the guidance of Al and of Bill and the experience and palate of Al, it ended up pretty damn good. And in 2011, we opened our doors to the public in October, and we finally started selling our first drops of whiskey. Anyone have any questions about the history before we dive onto the bottle? Yeah, all right, we'll get you.
I'm just kidding.
I'll talk fast, don't worry. Just keep sipping on that, slowly sipping, but keep your palate wet. All right, so let's talk about a few definitions in the world of whiskey. We're going to start with the word whiskey itself. Have y'all heard the definition of whiskey? This is an answer that nobody has, but it's one I use pretty primarily as a joke. The definition of whiskey is a distilled spirit derived from grain with whiskey-like characteristics. Whiskey,
Yeah, it's a little circular, but I can see, yeah.
It doesn't give us a lot, but it doesn't give us nothing. Whiskey is derived from grain. There is no peach whiskey, pear whiskey, apple whiskey. Those are brandies. If you do see the flavor, apple, peach, pear, on a bottle of whiskey, it was infused.
It's flavored whiskey.
It's flavored whiskey, exactly. Those flavors are added after the fact. after the whole maturation and aging process. So whiskey leaves barrel, apples go into whiskey. With that, whiskey itself is a tree. There are many branches on this tree. We've got Japanese whiskey, Canadian, Scotch, American whiskey. And on that branch of American whiskey, we've got our national spirit, a twig that is bourbon, a French name on an American spirit. Any idea where the name bourbon comes from? What you got?
In the 1700s, whenever they were shipping barrels of corn whiskey from Bourbon, Kentucky, down to New Orleans, over that 6-month process of it going down the Mississippi River, it aged in the barrels. It came out brown instead of clear, and then the guys were like, "We don't want this. This is ridiculous. It's dirty." They started drinking it. They realized the oak actually infused it with a really good flavor and it was good. They started calling back to Kentucky, saying, "We want more of that bourbon."
You're on it.
Yeah.
There is much speculation about it.
All right.
Dates being one thing. So let's talk about when things were named. Bourbon Street, named actually before Bourbon,
Correct.
Which was named before Bourbon County, Kentucky.
Right.
All of which was named after the French royal family, the Bourbon family, that helped us gain our independence in the American Revolution. Bourbon Street was named in honor of this family. Bourbon itself, speculation, at least from my research, says people would ask for that Bourbon Street liquor. And that's where the spirit name came from. Many people in Bourbon County, Kentucky would like to claim it. That said, Bourbon County, Kentucky, and that's where it was invented. That's where the spirit really did come from. Therefore, they get the name Bourbon County, Kentucky, because the Scotch and the Irish who moved there after the Revolution made the spirit. But you could say Bourbon County, Kentucky was named after Bourbon, which was named after Bourbon Street, which was named after the Bourbon family in France.
Which came first, right?
And I will say,
The chicken and the egg.
the speculation will never end on bourbon. But this is our national spirit, is bourbon. There are many regulations that go into making bourbon. We've got our ABCs of bourbon. You know what they are? These are kind of your 3 big ones. So the A being, it's got to be made in America, USA. A lot of people think it's got to be made in Bourbon County, Kentucky, and yet here we are in Colorado making bourbon. So anywhere in the US will do. You can make it in Hawaii. The B, it's got to be made in virgin charred oak barrels. B is for barrel. Traditionally, American white oak is used. That's what we use. But any oak will technically do. We just like oak because it's a nice porous wood. It sucks in the whiskey. It filters it through that layer of charcoal and imparts that brown color to it. It gives it that nice caramely flavor. That's why we like oak for bourbon. The C,
Corn.
Corn. Got to be majority corn. Like many whiskeys, it's got to be at least 51% corn. So like a rye's got to be at least 51% rye. The difference about bourbon is that it caps at 80%. Anything over 80% corn is a corn whiskey. So bourbon is kind of a window there for its mash bill. It's a pretty big.
It's massive.
Yeah,
Massive.
there's a
Massive.
lot of range for that one. There are other regulations like proofing. It's got to come off the still under 160 proof, but I kind of gave you the big 3 that make it a bourbon. With that, let's jump into the word straight. You ever see that on a bottle of whiskey? Kentucky straight bourbon. Any idea what that word means? Yeah, you're on it. It's an age statement. The minimum age statement in a whiskey on a whiskey in the bottle is 2 years minimum. So
If it's a straight whiskey.
if it's a straight whiskey, yes. Straight indicates minimum age statement is 2 years in that bottle. So it's a good quality indicator. I will say on bottles of anything but maybe Scotch, if it's a straight Scotch, it's probably a pretty low age statement on something like that. But for bourbon, it's great, especially when you make it in Colorado. We'll talk about that a bit. Moving up the bottle, we've got our 4 grains. And we talked about our mash bill, but we're using corn, wheat, rye, and barley. We get these grains from local Colorado farms. So like I said, we're making a true grain-to-glass Colorado whiskey. So we get our corn from the Whiskey Sisters. They are pictured in that bottom middle picture sitting on both sides of Al, our owner. So if you're wondering what he looked like, there he is. Handsome man. He's got a "There Are No Shortcuts" tattoo on his arm. We actually have that saying trademarked, which is kind of cool. Those are the Whiskey Sisters. They supply a lot of corn to many distilleries and distillation shops here in Colorado. Kind of found their niche there. And then we get our wheat, rye, and barley from the Cody Brothers. This is the Colorado Malting Company down in Alamosa. They do all of our malting for us, and they also give us those other 3 grains. We love the San Luis Valley for aging grains. We'll dive into that in a bit, but it adds a lot of nice flavor. So those are our 4 grains. One last thing that I like to point out, we put on our bottles. Basically, the more information you have on a bottle, the more you can trust the product that's in it, because the more you understand it. One thing we put on all of our bottles is distilled, aged, and bottled by Law's Whiskey House, and has our address on it, which means everything in this bottle comes from this facility. When you dive into the world of blended whiskeys, you know, you can have beautiful art, and you can take it advantage of. You know, there's a whole spectrum there, but while we do blend, we call it marrying our whiskeys together, because they are all made here, and marriage is cuter. With that, anyone have questions about bottles? Or words, definitions, stuff like that?
Why a square bottle?
Good question. So our bottles are designed as whiskey decanters. Finish the whiskey in there, you can pour another one in if you want to. It also sits really nice on a shelf. It's not top heavy, it's not easy to knock over, so it's just a sturdy, robust bottle.
Sits nicely side by side all the other bottles and takes up less space on the shelf.
These things stack like bricks. Very efficient space.
Beautiful.
Yeah, right? Good question.
Everybody's got like a round bottle and like, how do I put this in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All that dead space in the liquor cabinets, and you couldn't be filling it with more whiskey. So that's why the lesson here is that the only whiskey you should buy is Law's. I'm just playing. There are many whiskeys out there.
Hey, J.P. Weiser's Canadian whiskey's also in a square bottle. Oddly similar size and shape.
There you go, yeah. Jack Daniel's square bottle. Sure.
Nah.
Maybe like a barrel select.
There you go.
Yeah.
Barrel proof.
All right. Well, you've been to my church. Welcome to my classroom.
Oh, hey, real quick question though on the on y'all's stuff. Is it all cask strength, or what do you release it at?
We have varying levels. So we
Okay.
have our flagship that's 95 proof. It's going to be for our rye and our bourbon. And then we have bondants.
Which is 100. Yeah.
Those are 100 proof, and then we do have cask strength as well.
Beautiful. Any particular reason why 95 instead of 85, 90, or?
Fit the flavor profile we were looking for best.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Just part of the process. Yeah.
Indeed.
Part of our formula would be that down proof. So with that, let's dive into distillation a little bit. We just chatted about our grains, where they come from, all here in the state of Colorado. Those grains come from those farms in pressurized sealed trucks. They do not touch the air again until they hit our cooker. The reason they don't touch the air again is because we need to keep them dehydrated. They'll live in our grain garden for up to 2 years. This is why we need them to be dry. If there's any moisture in there, we get mold. Those grains go bad.
Welcome to Colorado.
Yeah, right? Not hard to keep the grain dry here. With that, they can live in there for 2 years. This is capacity. They never do, because we love making whiskey. With that, they're going to travel from our grain garden, still sealed, through our hammer mill. It's going to beat these grains up into a cornstarch-like texture called grist. At this point, we'll drop them into our cooker. The reason that we want to break those grains down into a grist is to expose all of the starches in the grains. We need those starches so that in our cooker, we can convert them into simple sugars that can be fermented. This is done with the use of enzymes, mainly found in malted barley. This is a brewer's best friend right here. Beer requires it. Most grain-based spirits also use a bit of barley or malted grain of sorts. Malting is just the process of causing a grain to germinate and then halting that germination to produce those enzymes to help with that conversion. That all happens in the cooker. Once we finish cooking our grains, we have like a sweet cereal stew, or porridge, if you will. And we're going to toss that into our open air fermenter. This is where we're going to pitch our yeast. And over the next 4 days, that yeast is going to go to work reproducing, converting that sugar into alcohol, carbon dioxide, and heat, 3 byproducts of fermentation. At that point, we've got about an 8% beer when that's done. And in 4 days, it's pretty quick fermentation. We use distiller's yeast, some know it as turbo yeast, but it just works really quick. What we're after is the alcohol, not necessarily delicate flavor in that light beer, if you will. From there, we're going to toss that into our stripping still. And this is where we're going to remove the alcohol from that spent grain and water. We're going to use the water cycle for this. Alcohol evaporates at a lower temperature than water. So we heat that stew up, the mash, and it'll travel up, alcohol vapor evaporates off, travels up through our still, hits our condenser, turns back into liquid, and we collect that as low wines. This is going to be your lower proof liquor. At that point, we'll throw that in our spirit still to further refine it. This is where we're going to make our heads, hearts, and tails cuts. Have y'all heard those terms before? Yeah? Not familiar with them? Just for the sake of the video, imagine you're eating a snake. Bear with me, I'm from Oklahoma. Okay, I've eaten a snake. Is that what you wanted to hear?
You're Louisiana, man. I'm eating worse.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, you get it. Yeah.
What part of the snake am I eating?
Right,
I'd
right.
say the knee.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be the head, right? Why?
Where's that from?
A water boy.
That's right.
That's pretty good. There you
Well,
go.
I'd say the knee. That's right, man.
All right, so we're going to make our head cut. You don't want the head of the snake? Why?
Venom.
Venom. Yep. Head of the run on the still has your highest proof, most volatile alcohols. We're talking methanol, aldehydes, things that are bad for your stomach, but great for industrial cleaners. Part of our run is what we're really after. This is our most pure ethanol. And where most of that flavor comes through, the really sweet, delicate, vibrant flavor that we get out of our whiskey, which most often comes off the still tasting like green apple or pear. Comes at the very front end of that heart run. So this is where the sensory experience comes into play. Our distillers have refined palates. They've been doing this for years. They know exactly when to make that cut in the time frame that doesn't allow for tools to measure all the contents of that. They can use their palates, and then we get our sweet flavor out of our whiskey. So it's
So you want that job?
Yeah.
I don't know if you do, man.
Oh, man, it's
You know how much of the head you have to taste to know where to stop at the neck? I mean, that's.
yeah. I mean, maybe ponder it again on like a Saturday morning after like a bachelor party or something.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to go run a still. But with that, we've got our hearts. This is the meat. This is what we're after. And then we've got our tails. This is your lowest proof, more oily alcohols. These are the more bitter flavored products of distillation. We do want a little bit of them. We take them and we mix them with our hearts. Any idea why we might want to do that?
Mouthfeel.
Nice, yeah. Keyword is oily. Mouthfeel is big.
Would that be called the lees?
The lees, yeah, it does cause lees to happen. Well, lees isn't that more sediment based? What lees are? I guess I'm the one that's supposed to have the answers.
I talked to Luca Couture at 7-3 Distillery, and he mentioned that when he talked about cigar blends.
Okay.
So
interesting.
I'll off camera that.
Yeah,
one.
we can look into that after the tour. But for the sake of keeping the ball rolling, the oiliness gives you good mouthfeel. It allows that taste to linger on your palate for longer and lets you pick apart those more delicate flavors. It also adds nice aroma to the whiskey. Too much, hangover. Just right, just a nice bodied, well-bodied whiskey. With that, we have our hearts, we have our tails, we mix those together. That's called White Dog, which is moonshine with a license. At this point, we're going to take water from our El Dorado Springs, just up northwest of Boulder. We're going to downproof to about 110 proof before throwing it into our barrels for maturation. Like I mentioned earlier, maturation at the beginning of our company was about 3.5 years. From there, now we have the capacity to age just about every whiskey we've got at least 4 years, which is kind of the target for the minimum age statement in our flagship bourbon. At this point, we're going to throw into our bottling tank, where over the next 2 weeks, we will downproof to 95. Over that maturation phase, our whiskey proofs will climb. This is unique to the state of Colorado, or at least to the environment that we live in, compared to maybe a place like Kentucky, where barrel proofs tend to decrease over time. Ponder it, we'll talk about it later. We're going to downproof gradually over 2 weeks to 95 with more of that El Dorado Springs water before we throw it into our bottles, package it up all nice and pretty like for you, our happy customers to buy. Yeah, now we know what this is.
Yay!
Any got questions about that?
Yeah, I already figured out the answer.
Cool.
So you,
Dry.
you did say you have a bottle and bond product, right?
We do.
So that has to be 4 years minimum.
Yeah,
How long were you guys around before you released that first bottle and bond product?
It's a good question. I'm actually not sure, but we can talk about it after the tour.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I do know that we were the first bottled and bond whiskey in the state of Colorado history. That's bourbon, rye, wheat, and single malt.
Very nice.
Actually, Stranahan's might have the single malt.
That's okay.
Yeah, I think that's that one. They got that one.
That's they can keep the
We got
single
the
malt.
rest, yeah.
You got the bourbon. It's fine.
But first in state history, so that's one of our claims to fame.
It's awesome.
About face, and look at this map behind me. Yeah, this is our geography here. So we are located right here-ish. Water comes from the El Dorado Springs, just up there, northwest of Boulder. Wheat, barley, and rye, Colorado Malting Company down there in the San Luis Valley. We like the San Luis Valley for aging grains, or growing grains, because a lot of temperature and weather fluctuations in the valley leads to high protein count in the cell walls of those grains. Leads to good flavor in the whiskey. With that, we've got our corn coming over here from the Burlington farm, the Whiskey Sisters out there.
Right at the Kansas border.
Right at the Kansas border. Rumor has it, covered wagon broke down just on this side, and they said, well, hell, we'll set up shop here.
Sure.
Not them in the picture, unless they found the Fountain of Youth, but it's been a family farm
Good for them.
years.
We say it's the Laws whiskey that helps.
Yeah, yeah.
Keeping them young, huh, bud?
Also with age. Yeah, you guys have found the Fountain of Youth, and you're walking through it right now.
It's their 200th 40th birthday.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Sign me up.
Cool. So that's our geography. Colorado whiskey. This idea of terroir is what we're after with this. Have y'all heard that term before? If you have, it may have been from the wine industry. We stole it. Another French word that we like to use to describe the soul of our whiskey. This whiskey is made to reflect the people who made it. The people who grew the grains, the soil that grew those grains, the people who distilled it. Is it a B? If you need to run into the distillery, then you're welcome to.
It's just a baby.
He just likes
Just out here looking to pollinate. Don't worry, they're not aggressive when they're not near their hive, so there's
It's
no
just-
hives
that's just the
around.
yellow jacket, it's
Yeah,
fine.
You're chilling. It is all made to reflect where it came from. Whiskey has soul. That's effectively what we're talking about when we talk about the terroir of our whiskey. And this is a Colorado terroir that we're after. With that, if you'll turn around, you'll see the first phase of our process. So this is our grain garden. Got these two 80,000 pound silos on the right. We're going to show you where we keep our corn and rye. Those are the two grains we use the most of. These 50,000 pound tanks on the left are going to have our barley, our wheat, and some more experimental grains, such as red corn that we've recently made a whiskey with. Which unfortunately means we're not going to know how it tastes for another
2 years.
5. There's a distillery up north that does a 4-grain bourbon with Svelte, which is very interesting.
What's that called?
No code. Yeah, they're up in Fort Collins.
What's the story with my friend here?
Quite good. Oh yeah, the gargoyle. We're gonna talk about those later, but
Oh.
for the sake of giving you a piece right now, gargoyles protect us from evil spirits.
That's funny. That's
A little
funny.
superstition there. So grains are going to live in these tanks. Then they are going to travel with this little disc chain track on the bottom of them. Push of a few buttons, we can drop grains into there. We put about a pound of grain in between each disc. This is how we measure our mash bills. At that point, we're going to take those grains, send them through that track over to the corner of the building over there. You're going to see this little tan box. That is our hammer mill. Not much of a looker. We tucked it away. But that is a important step in the process and the continuation, which we will go check out right now. Sounds fun.
Smells amazing in here.
All right, so continuation of the chain and disc track. It's going to pull these grains up here and it's going to drop them into our cooker. It worked. We cook our rye and our corn at 180 degrees first for a bit before we drop the temperature to 150. We're going to add our wheat and our barley at that point. The reason we got to cook those other ones at a higher temperature is because they've got higher protein count, cell walls of those grains. They need a higher temperature and more time to cook. The whole cook takes about 4 to 6 hours, at which time we're going to filter it through our heat exchanger, dropping that temperature down to about 85, 95 degrees before throwing it into our open air fermenters. This is a temperature range that's more habitable for the yeast, allows them to reproduce and to make those conversions from sugars to alcohol and carbon dioxide and heat. As you can maybe imagine, when we have all these fermentations running in here, it gets pretty hot. So what we do for that is, this is one of our open air fermenters right here, number 18. You can see that it's outfitted with this dimpled jacket on the side of it. We use that, we pump glycol through it, it maintains a consistent temperature in that fermentation. We have to maintain that temperature for 4 days, which is the amount of time it takes for the fermentation to fully run its course. Now I've said a thing a couple times and no one's asked questions about it, therefore I'm going to bring it up. Open air fermentations, any idea why we like to do that as opposed to anaerobic fermentation?
I imagine it gives the yeast a chance to breathe and grow and develop a little bit in the tank, but
close. It does like oxygen. Yeast definitely loves oxygen for reproduction. The real reason is yeast oriented. We want the wild yeasts in the air to get into our batches.
Yeah.
That adds more of that Colorado
There you
terroir.
go.
what's she called? They're
Friends? What is she?
they're
call it?
little helpers.
Little helpers.
We have a friend of ours who's a baker.
She's a baker. She bakes bread, and she told us about this bakery in New York where they were there for decades, you know, putting out amazing bread, and then they moved to a new location. And it just
State of the
wasn't
art.
Same. State of the art location. It just wasn't as good because they left all the little helpers behind.
Oh, little helpers, yeah, the
Yeah.
natural yeasts that live in the building. The building becomes part of the recipe at a certain point. So that's why we like open air fermentations. We want Colorado wild yeast getting in there. So from there, 4 days in the spirits or in the fermenter. Then we're gonna step over here to your left and look over there to your right, and you'll see our massive stripping still. That is a hybrid pot column. It is pot made out of stainless steel, column made out of copper. Stripping still. This is where we are going to remove all the alcohol from that spent grain and water. Any idea why we like copper for distillation and why that is such a commonly used metal in building stills?
Is that just based on the metals and how they kind of react
In a way.
to the mash, or
Yeah.
at least?
Totally. Yeah, in a way. Yeah. So copper itself, one, is a really nice conductor of heat. So you can keep copper warm consistently for longer, which is great when you need to keep a mash at a certain temperature. More importantly, it's antimicrobial, and it will pull out impurities from that alcohol vapor as it comes in contact with the copper. So things like sulfites are going to be removed from the alcohol vapor. These are things that would lead to sulfury off flavors on the back end. If you've smelled sulfur, it smells like farts and eggs, and we don't want to taste that in our whiskey. So this is why we like copper. But for the purposes of our stripping still, we only need the alcohol vapor to come in contact with the copper, which is nice because stainless steel is cheaper, easier to clean, and you can flip it a lot quicker. With that, we are going to separate the alcohol, collect it in a tank, and then if you take 3 steps over to your right, 6 or 7 steps over to your right, look to your left, you'll see our completely copper spirit still. We're really maximizing surface area and contact with that copper on this one. And this is where we're going to make our heads, hearts, and tails cuts. At that point, we'll take our hearts, a little bit of our tails, collect them in this tank right here. This is our white dog, which we will downproof gradually with this conical fermenter repurposed for slowly incorporating water into the spirit. From that point, once we hit that 110 proof, which is our barreling proof, we will load it into our barrels with a tool you may have seen before.
Sweet.
Ooh, yeah.
Is that how you want to fill up your barrel at your house, with one of those?
Just fill up. Straight out.
Yeah, so the auto shutoff is a pretty handy tool when you have one person running this place. You can toss this John in a barrel, head over there, pitch some yeast, head over there, start a cook, head over there, make a few cuts, come back, barrel's full, you don't have a mess on the ground. This lesson was learned the hard way.
Pressure valves are amazing.
Isn't it? Isn't that just a thing? It's pretty awesome.
It's the best ever.
Yeah. Let's head on back around the corner over here on our way past our stripping still and talk about sour mashing. Are y'all familiar with what that is? It's cool. So imagine like a sourdough starter. Once we remove all the alcohol from this spent grain and water, what we're left is a sour mash, a more acidic solution of grains of water. What we do is we take a little bit of that, we're going to throw it into all of our new batches. This helps with pH balancing in those new batches. This also helps with maintaining a consistent strain of yeast over the years. Lose your yeast, lose your recipe. It is very important to keep that yeast alive. Yep, same with bread, exactly. Same with beer in Germany and lager houses that have been around for hundreds of years. It's all the same. Yeast is important. Strains of yeast can vary from strain to strain, but if you use sour mash, you keep them consistent. It's good. With that, we're not throwing all of the sour mash in our new batches. So with the rest of it, what we do is we filter off the water from those spent grains. We're going to send that water to local water treatment plants for pH balancing, and then we'll send the spent grains to local farms for feeding livestock. No, it doesn't get the livestock drunk. There's no alcohol.
Huh? What?
If you were wondering how we get our water from the El Dorado springs, this is how they'll come like that.
Nice.
Yeah. So our barrels themselves. We are making a grain to glass Colorado whiskey, but there is one ingredient technically that does not come from the state of Colorado. That's going to be the barrel itself. Our barrels come from the Independent Stave Company in Lebanon, Missouri. Unfortunately, oaks don't grow at a surplus to the point where we can justify making barrels with them in the state of Colorado. Altitude's tough. But with that, the Independent Stave Company employs a large percentage of the coopers in the world. And so, supporting that company keeps a very ancient art alive. We support that. With that, we get all of our barrels from that company at a char level of 3. This is the point in that char level where all the vanillins start to come out and caramelize in the wood. This is the part that imparts all that nice, sweet, caramely, syrupy flavor into your whiskeys. Anything beyond that, you're looking at more of a campfire-y flavor on the back end. Anything before, we're talking more oakiness, or even you're going to taste the whiskey more so as it would taste coming off of still. So, the way our whiskey ages, we want that sweet flavor out of the barrel because it helps with our balance. With that, these barrels are made with 2 materials. Wood, pieced together just like that, and then these iron rings that are going to hold these pieces of wood together. They're all carved so that they'll fit together nice and snug. That said, leakage can happen. You'll notice on this barrel some leakages happen. Fortunately, the whiskey has mixed with some of the caramelized sugars in that wood and created a nice little seal for it. If that's not enough and it keeps leaking, we can take a little tamp and knock these rings down and tighten up those barrels pretty quick. So, we will incur some loss due to leakage. Also, if you look at this stave, you will see a line traveling through the middle of it. That is the depth to which the whiskey has sunk into the barrel. This is also whiskey that's going to be claimed by the barrel itself. So, we're going to lose some whiskey to that. Do y'all know what our industry term for loss to barrel claim and leakage is called?
Angels.
You're dancing around it?
I am.
This one's the devil's cut.
Yeah, that's devil's cut. The other one's angel's share.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Yeah.
Evaporation is what we call the angel's share.
Yeah.
So, over 10 years in the state of Colorado, we can lose a half a barrel of whiskey. Begs the question, why oh why would we want to age whiskey in the state of Colorado?
It's tasty.
It's tasty. Yeah, this goes to my mention earlier about how fundamentally our whiskey ages quite differently here. One, here, we have a lot of temperature fluctuations. Our barrels breathe about 4 times a year, compared to in Kentucky or Missouri, it breathes maybe 2. Just because the weather changes so much. 2, because it is not humid here, it's so dry in the air, what's evaporating out of our barrels of whiskey is going to be mainly water, leaving alcohol behind, making those barrel proofs climb over time. This leads to a more aromatic and potentially sharper or more astringent whiskey straight out of the barrel at that proof. That said, with our downproofing, with our barrel char, we find a good way to balance that flavor profile out, add some nice sweetness and smoothness to the whiskey as well, while maintaining that nice aroma, which is what we really want out of a good Colorado whiskey. In Kentucky, or Missouri, you might have a whiskey that decreases in barrel proof, which leads to sometimes more of a sweet, lower proof whiskey on the tail end. The luxury of that for us is we don't have to rotate our warehouse. We don't have to maintain a certain temperature in this room because it fluctuates so much. Barrels at the top age just about the same as barrels on the bottom. So there's a lot of labor that gets taken out of aging whiskey in Colorado. We also are able to downproof after the fact. So there's some good wiggle room that comes with aging whiskey in Colorado. That is my favorite fact about our whiskey. Just that fundamental difference. What makes Colorado whiskey special? Any questions about that? Y'all want to take pictures?
I was wondering about the aging process because of the climate up here. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's neat. As you can imagine, we barrel a lot of barrels of whiskey. I think we're up over somewhere around 6,000 to 7,000 in terms of just bourbon. We're in our 2,000 or 3,000s with rye. When you barrel so many whiskeys, you got to play with the numbers. We have on display some of our more fun barrels. Most recently, we were able to have a release party for our 666th barrel of rye whiskey. The Barrel of the Beast, aged 6 years, 6 months, and 6 days, and released on June 6th. We had a fun party. We had True Brewing come in. They had aged a beer in one of our barrels, and then...
So did you guys wait to barrel that so that you could do it you barreled it basically the last day of May on purpose so they could be released on June 6th at 6 days?
We
Or did you?
bottled it.
Okay.
We took it out of the barrel exactly 6 years, 6 months, and 6 days after barreling it. We didn't barrel it on a specific date that has any significance.
Okay.
So as far as like distilling it and throwing it in the barrel, that is just, it happened when it happened. But then everything after the fact was all on.
Well, you released the bottles intentionally on June 6th. Okay,
June
that makes
6th,
sense.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Exactly.
We see Y2K, 1776,
Merc.
America,
Yeah.
5280.
Mile High.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that red corn experimental batch I was talking about.
And what's 6,000 right here?
So
That would be
when
6,000
do we-
barrel of bourbon.
when do we get
just
to taste
commemorate.
that one, the red corn? Because you said it
My guess is like 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah,
So you just bought that,
that was pretty recent.
or barreled it.
Yeah,
Okay.
would have been within the last year or two.
All right. So hold on.
You go and mark it on your calendar.
Hey Google, can you remind me in 6 years?
Red corn whiskey laws.
6 years to
Yeah.
go to laws for red corn.
I did the same exact thing with Distillery Acadian. They have a blueberry whiskey that they're releasing in 3 years.
Yeah, man.
Oh, blueberry whiskey.
Well, it's aged in blueberry mead barrels.
I just made blueberry mead and bottled it yesterday.
Oh, that sounds so good.
That's pretty good.
It's Louisiana whiskey, man.
Nice.
Sign me up.
Hey, I got any other questions about barrels? Let's roll on back into our little sensory tasting bar here.
Sensory.
The sensory tasting bar.
Oh yeah. More of like lack thereof senses.
Eventually.
Yeah. You'll get it.
Right, yeah.
Gargoyles at the tasting?
Yeah, I'll tell you all about the gargoyles. I'll tell you about our gargoyle
I'm
spirits.
trying to make like calendar things, so it'd be like 2 weeks. All right, I'm buying whiskey.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you about gargoyles right now because this is fun. So this is the corner in which we kind of first started. Then we expanded and were able to build the big still. But originally, Al and Bill made everything in this corner. Now we use this corner for our non-whiskey spirits, which are all under the Gargoyle Enterprises name.
Oh.
The story behind that is when we first started, Al really wanted to call this company Gargoyle Enterprises because gargoyles protect you against the evil spirits, and it was really fun and it was clever and it was creative. But in the whiskey industry, dates and names are the things that are attached to this spirit. And in that, marketing was able to convince Al to put his name on the bottle. And then for everything else that we do that is not whiskey, we'll throw it under the Gargoyle Enterprises name.
Very cool.
I like the smoky wood spread.
So we have here 4 grain rye and
There we
malt.
go.
Beautiful.
Cool. Are you pumping some sort of like smells in here so we're supposed to absorb something?
Actually, quite the opposite. This room is all about dialing it in on your palate. So, we've dimmed the lights. I guess maybe we should soundproof a little better so my voice doesn't carry as much, but a project for another day.
Sure.
Everyone feel free to grab yourselves a flight. Kind of wave it in front of your face. You can roll it on your chin. There are many methods for this.
Oh, we need beard hair in it, man.
Yeah. What do you smell?
Vanilla?
Yeah. Yeah.
Same vanilla flavor.
Yeah, that was great. Accurate.
You're starting to get it. Like what? How I am. Like, oh, I taste the vanilla. I taste the.
Yeah. So for starters, everyone's palate's different. If you taste something that nobody else tastes, it's still valid. So that's great. We talk about it. It's always very interesting, and it's always based on what you've experienced in your life. With that, we're going to take a 3-sip approach. So this first sip is our acclimation sip. This is the one where your body's getting just used to the whiskey. It's the one that burns the most. I recommend swishing it around in your mouth for a little bit, allowing yourself to salivate, let that combine with the water, swallowing it, and then you'll feel the heat all the way down into your stomach. They call it the Kentucky hug in the industry. We call it the Colorado hug because we're going to glass Colorado spirit. Terroir, if you will. So for the first one, we lose a lot of potential whiskey sippers on this first sip. So have some patience with it. The second one is often more smooth. This is our judgment.
She's fine, she's picking it up.
This is great. Yeah, so first sip, prepare for the heat. You're just acclimating to this poison, or fun poison. Yeah.
Brown water for fun people.
Brown water for fun people.
That's nice. That is nice. That says, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So that's our 4 grain bourbon. We've been talking about it all day. I didn't talk too much about it right now, but once that heat kind of simmers, take a sec. Just breathe. Let that palate get back to good point. And then when you're ready for it, feel free to go for a second sniff. You can often sniff a little bit more on this one. Might smell a little bit more of that barrel in there.
A little bit more of the oak.
A little more of that oakiness, yeah.
I smoke meats, so like I smelled the oak before we even started.
Nice. And feel free to hit that second sip whenever you're ready. We have one more sip left in here.
Now you get extra flavors to come through.
A
little more sweetness.
You really become
little
part of it.
smoother.
Yeah.
That wasn't so
A little smoother, a little sweeter. And if that wasn't smoother and sweeter enough for you, we're going to have our experimental sip. We're going to take these little dropper bottles right in front of us full of our water from the El Dorado Springs.
Okay, we'll have more
I put
left.
2 or 3 drops in that glass of whiskey, and then lift it up to the light, swirl it around. Look at those little swirls happening in that whiskey. That is marriage happening in your glass right now. We can wait 2 minutes for it to fully marry. I'm thinking the wine industry, they call that legs. But that's what we call marriage. It is hydrogen bonds, water molecules mixing with that whiskey. What this does is it really opens up the whiskey.
That's the ice as it melts.
Yeah.
As you enjoy it.
Exactly, yeah. Ice is good. So let's talk about this. There is this train of thought that the only way to drink whiskey is to drink it neat, or the best way to drink whiskey is to drink it neat. Which is, there's plenty of speculation. There's some validity behind it, right? There is whiskey is probably bottled at a strength or proof in which the distiller wants to serve it to the public. This is how they want people to experience it. That said, we're not all distillers and sip 150 proof moonshine on a daily basis to see if it's good enough yet.
The best chefs own restaurants that have salt and pepper on the table.
Yeah, exactly, right? Just to make it good for yourself. So like doctor your whiskey up however you want, add a little bit of water, opens up the flavor, opens up the aroma. You can add ice, it gradually dilutes over time, it'll cool it down. I will go so far as to say there is only one wrong way to drink whiskey, and that's to not drink it at all. Cheers. Cool. At this point, I'm going to free you to attack the rest of your flight at your own pace.
Man.
We'll talk about the whiskeys that are
A
on
4
there.
grand's killer, dude.
4 grand's pretty good, right?
4 grams
I had y'all's 2-year-old rye at a little restaurant bar thing. Actually, I tried the rye. Talked to the bartender. His name's Chase. He's over at Dale's in downtown, and he said, "You got to go check these guys out." He said, "These guys are legit." I booked the tour right there with him.
Nice.
I'm like, all right, done.
Wonderful.
Worth it.
Yeah, nice.
100%. You guys would have been alone had it not been for Chase at some random dive bar in downtown.
We love Chase, dude. Chase is our guy. Chase.
It's okay.
My man.
Chase with a Y.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't 12 Dill.
Okay, I can see that.
Can't remember what it's called.
CHASYE.
CHAYSE because his parents.
They're fun, you know. Denver folks, I'm sure they're. With that, let's talk about our rye for a sec because our rye is special. I often find it's quite approachable to the non-rye drinker. Often rye is a kind of intense, spicy whiskey. Ours, to me, at least comes across quite butterscotchy, some sweet. I also get a little fig Newton out of it, but feel free to go at your own pace. Again, like feel free to sip. Do your. I'm not going to walk you through the.
What's the mash bill on rye?
Mash bill on rye? 100% rye, 50% malted, 50% raw. That's right.
Really?
That's right. Yep, and we have had our rye genetically tested by a third party. And the San Luis Valley is the only place in the world that this specific strain of rye grows. And we're buying just about all of it. So the only place you're finding that rye in the bottle is right here.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's very unique. That's why we named it the San Luis Valley Rye. And it is quite flavorful. If you ask anyone that works here what their favorite whiskey is, more often than not, the answer you're going to hear is bonded rye. So the rye is quite special. The final whiskey on the flight, which again don't feel like you have to start sipping it now, is our American Single Malt, which is a designation we've been waiting for a long time. Minimum age statement in that class is going to be 7 years up to 11. So it is quite an old blend. We've been very patient with this one.
The first time I've had it was
What
like
is
2014 or 2015.
What's
Yeah,
that?
good question.
Or
So
the
the
same-
Henry
the same
Road. The Henry Road is the name of the dirt road that runs by the fields that grow that barley down in Alamosa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we've named it in honor of that road. Our grains. One thing that I like to point out is that we've got our 4-grain bourbon, and then every other whiskey we do is a single grain expression of that 4-grain bourbon. So every other thing that we do is all made to point back to that flagship product, to the foundation of this company, that 4-grain bourbon. We've got our 100% rye, we've got our 100% single malt barley, we've got our 100% Centennial wheat whiskey bonded, and we have our bonded corn whiskey. So, single grain expressions, the whole idea is these are the building blocks of our 4-grain bourbon. They're really awesome to sit next to each other. You kind of begin to be able to pick out more flavors that come from specific grains. You also will be able to maybe mute some of those flavors so that others stand out a little bit better. I think probably the way I got the butterscotch out of our rye was by drinking the bonded corn first. And then I drank that and I felt like I was eating candy. It's pretty awesome. Worth an experience, definitely experiment with them all you want, sip them next to each other.
How can we try some of those other ones, man?
How can you try some of them?
Sorry.
Yeah, the good news for you is we have a full service sanctuary cocktail lounge upstairs. We do flights and we'll serve you whatever you want. There's also some other bottles up there that are quite fun to taste. So definitely lift yourself up there, try some of those after the tour's up. We got another couple hours before we close tonight, so plenty of time to sip on some more whiskeys. Yeah.
I have a question for like not being the bourbon kind of drinker. So like for the rye, is that 60% rye versus the 60% corn, and then everything else is a little different, or am I wrong?
That's a great question. So in order to be called a rye, it does have to be at least 51% rye. So majority of it has to be rye.
Okay.
Ours specifically is 100% rye.
Oh,
So it is 50% malted and 50% raw.
okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, good question.
I just noticed you changed your label.
In some ways.
Yeah.
What did you notice about the change in the label?
Just the font and the way that it's laid out. It's still laws at the top, but it used to be laws in a larger font.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would say rye, cask, bourbon, like.
You mean like on those circular bottles?
No, the square bottles. So
Yeah,
like,
we've got some older ones.
because laws used to be like this
Oh,
big,
yeah.
and then cask was like the size of this.
Mhm.
So the labels changed.
Yeah. We're just trying to draw
Art Deco
attention
style.
to the right places on the bottle. Yeah.
Maybe.
And it used to be just one or two colors. Like some of them, you've changed the hue on them.
Yeah, so
Maybe
typically,
for us.
like, our bourbon is always yellow, our rye is always green.
Yeah.
Everything.
But it's a different green and it's a different yellow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm like a stickler for like minute details.
Yeah, so the yellow actually used to be gold, which is
Mhm.
probably what you're remembering. Yeah. And then the green was like a dark forest, like
Yes.
metallic green.
Uh-huh.
So what's the
Sakale.
difference with those two with the black labels? Is that the same thing as this 4 grain? and
Wonderful question.
Right
It is
here?
not quite the same. So this is our Headwaters series. You may have heard about it on a podcast recently. Word has gotten out about these ones, but what this is, these are charitable bottles. What we've done with these ones is instead of downproofing after maturation with water from the Rio or the
Oh,
El Dorado, we have taken for our bourbon water from the Colorado River headwaters and downproofed with that. With the rye, we're taking water from the Rio Grande and downproofed with that. Proceeds, 10% proceeds from all of these bottles that get sold go to water conservation in those rivers. So in every way we can, we like to try to give back, right? So like even at the extent of we are the official bourbon of the CU Boulder Athletics. And so we have our
yeah, I
Ralphie's
saw that one. I
Reserve.
was like, who's Ralphie?
Yeah, Ralphie is the buffalo mascot
Okay.
of CU Boulder.
Okay.
And so proceeds from this bottle go to housing Ralphie the buffalo.
The official bourbon of the college,
That's right.
where the majority of students are.
You got it.
Okay, no, it's fine, it's fine.
And in
Listen,
that-
I live really close to LSU. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, in that vein, this is a 90 proof as opposed to our 95 proof. So like the 95 proof, Al wanted to make a big whiskey. You know, he
You gotta
wanted to
ease
be
the
bold
students into it,
flavored, right? But you know, this one is some sweeter barrels,
Yeah.
and you might think, oh, for the students. No, actually, what we're trying to do with this barrel is appeal a little bit more to the Kentucky bourbon crowd.
Okay.
Most Kentucky bourbons you're going to see around that 80 proof mark. More smooth, more sweet. Ours are a little bit sharper, so we've hand selected some sweeter barrels for this bottle. We've also put it in this bottle as opposed to our fancy square bottles. To make it a little bit of a lower price point on store shelves. So that's that bottle, and then you may have noticed our Origin series is front and center up top. The Origin series, every year another charitable bottle. Everyone on the staff will pick a charity. Proceeds from those bottles get divvied out amongst those charities for all sales that go on those bottles.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah,
That's awesome. So what are the charities of those three? Hey man, I'm asking the hard questions.
I just got here, so I haven't participated yet, but I don't know. There are many. Yeah. I know a lot. I don't know that. That would be a lot.
Fifth
What
squad.
does that say,
is a-
the white one, on their origins? I can't read it. Corn.
White
Intention. Which one? This one?
No, over one.
Cornerstone.
Our cornerstone.
Cornerstone,
Yeah. We have our
okay.
cornerstone, which is our
Terrible
rye.
vision.
Our intention, which is our bourbon, and our
Okay.
super weeder, which is a weeded bourbon.
Yeah.
This year,
Ah,
we're
okay.
coming out with another
Not
one
tasting
that's
what
going to be
it
an
is.
American single malt.
Very nice.
But
Okay, this will be my first.
Sing along.
yeah, aside from bourbon, we've got other spirits. These are the gargoyle spirits. We've got a couple of agave spirits here. Not technically tequila, not made in Jalisco. However, they are using 100% of the Weber agave from that region of Mexico. So in every way they are tequila other than staying made here. We've got a Blanco and a Nano. We also do a plum-based brandy. We have a grape brandy-based Amaro. And we have a Curacao. Finally, when we first started the company, I was the whiskey guy. Marianne, however, likes rum. So said, if we're starting this company, you gotta make me a rum. And so this is Marianne's Promise, our barrel-aged rum.
It's called Marianne's Promise.
Aww.
Oh, everybody say, oh.
That's this.
Huh? I don't want to wear it.
I think the rye was my favorite.
The rye was your favorite?
It's fair.
Just the flavor
It's the
profile
easiest
doesn't
to
work.
drink.
Like,
That's alright.
The rye is the easiest to drink for you? She said the rye is the easiest to drink for her.
Yeah, nice.
Isn't that shocking, Monson?
Is it?
We
I don't know.
honestly, it's not uncommon.
Yeah.
We get that here.
Your eye's excellent, man. Your eye's fantastic.
it's good.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work in my stomach. It's
Yeah,
good.
everyone's palate's different.
And this is how we shut it down with my channel Oak and Cedar. Guys, grab a bottle of Law's whiskey. I don't know if you can get it in your area, but enjoy every sip.
Get the loss.
Get the Laws.